So real quick, I want to kind of announce, obviously, the couple that's going to be up here. They are very, very dear to my heart. I love these guys, and I'll talk a little bit more about them once they take their seat. But my guests tonight, they're not new to youth, to Living Word as a whole, but mainly more so to youth. Let me not jump the gun, because I'm going to probably talk for like 30 minutes just about my friend. But without further ado, I want to get our couple up here, Marc and Olivia, who are back there. You guys feel like you're on late nights with...
It does feel like that. It does.
You have two microphones there. So I didn't want to jump the gun a little bit, but I want to give kind of a little background for them. Oh, sorry, but let me do this before Nicole kills me. These is Marc and Olivia. Married for now, it's been a year. That's what you guys told me, right?
A year and almost a month.
Okay, we're almost there, almost there. Are they cute? What the heck? So real quick, I want to give my kind of side of the story, and then I want to kind of leave it open for them to kind of like talk a little bit. Obviously, the heart for this season is relationship goals, and we're going to have different couples here every single week. And for the last week, we'll bring like all the couples back together and have one big thing. But the heart behind it is, I think you guys have real questions, right? And nowadays, we just came out of this series, We Want the Truth. And when we came out of the kind of relationship edition of Conversation Matters, we had the most views ever. And you guys were asking a lot of real questions and good questions. And last week, I came to the point of my message where I had a conversation with Pastor Nick, and I was like, at this point, if we don't have a series like this, what I say is not going to apply to them, because a lot of them are asking about relationships. A lot of them are asking about love. A lot of them are asking about hurt. A lot of them are stepping out of relationships or looking like, what does healing look like? And everyone's process looks literally entirely different. But with Marc, we've been friends since like anytime I mention Remnant ever in any preaching, we've known each other for as long as like me and Lucy have. Like we were like babies, like 17, 18 when we met? Probably a little bit younger. Like we've known each other for a long time. And last week, Marc actually helped us out on the worship team. And when I saw him, I was like, man, that seems so right. And so we ended up having a conversation, and basically, there was a couple that was supposed to do it this week, and they're going to do it next week, so that's going to be exciting. But I was like, I have absolutely no couple for this week, and I'm filtering through the list. I'm asking people like, hey, would you be able to do this week instead of the third week? Nah, man, we're busy. I'm so sorry. I'm like, who the heck am I going to have speak? And then all of a sudden, I felt my heart kind of continuously gravitating to Marc this whole week, or probably my whole life. I love this guy so much. Yes, the best. Our hugs are uncomfortably long to everyone else, but not to us. Man, the stories. But let's try to stay on track. And I was like, man, I felt God say, why don't you ask him and his wife, Olivia? And I was like, okay. And I go ahead and I ask him, and he goes ahead, and I don't know if you want to tell your side of the story of where you came from.
I had to ask my mom. I'd ask for permission.
Guys, you think you don't have to listen to your mom once you get married? No, it goes through to the day you die. And so, they were able to. Did you guys come from there to here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, literally were with their family, rushed over here to do this thing, and I couldn't be more excited for you guys. Can we give them one more round of applause? So here's what we're gonna do. First of all, we're gonna talk about, we all wanna hear their story, right? How this all started, what marriage looked like and all that. And then when we hit about the 8:10-ish mark, we're gonna open up room for questions. So here's what I want you guys to do. Most of you, or I hope all of you, are following us on Instagram, right? Youth_@livingword, right? We put a little post to ask questions. Do not wait for the question time. Start sending in your questions now, even as they kind of tell their story, because when we hit that 8:10 time, we want to be answering some of you guys' questions that you might have relating to dating, relating to marriage, relating to anything. If you want to talk about brokenness, love, questions that you just have on your heart in terms of that, it can literally be anything. If not, we do have some backup questions that some of you guys asked in our relationship portion of conversation matters, but we would like, new, updated, revised questions from you guys. So let's just start things off. Marc, Olivia, tell us about yourselves. I want to know, how you guys met, what life was like before that, what was life when you guys got to meet, and what was marriage like, all the good details, like the juicy stuff. By the way, we have water in these little Living Word cups, limited edition.
Yeah, so I'll start. So this goes back to, I think, like 2014 or 2015.
No.
When you first followed me?
Yeah.
Not like,
Yeah.
it was like 2014, 2015. I'm scrolling through my likes on Instagram, and I see this cute girl who liked my picture. And I was like, oh, she's cute. So I followed her back, and one day I'll let you tell this portion of it.
Okay, I don't remember ever following him personally. I don't know when that happened, but it did. So I was a senior in college. So just so y'all know, I'm from North Carolina, born and raised, and now I live in New Jersey. So very different, but I'm a Southern girl at heart. So I was in my senior year of college, and a friend sent me a postcard for my birthday, and I love getting mail because nobody ever gets mail. And I, of course, posted a picture on Instagram and was like, anybody want to be pen pals? Because why not? And, right?
Can you explain to us what pen pals is for someone who might not know?
A pen pal is somebody who writes letters in the mail back and forth. So I had pen pals before that were friends who graduated and moved away. But I was like, let's just put it out there. Like, I'm on public. Who knows? And of course, somebody comes in the DMs and says, let's do it. And I was like, you're a serial killer. You're not real. And so he told me, I'd love to do this. And I was like, okay, let me ask all of my roommates and see if this is okay. So we hardcore stalked him on the internet. Marc and all of his friends had YouTube channels, so super easy to find very embarrassing videos, pictures, everything. So he sent me his address first so that I could write him, because I don't condone you asking people their addresses on Instagram. But he sent me his address, and I Google Maps it with my roommates and made sure it was a real thing and not a warehouse where a serial killer would be. And so from there, I wrote him a letter and was like, I hope you don't kill me, but just introduced myself. And from there, we wrote for about 2.5 years before we ever met one another. Yeah, so cute. My story between those 2.5 years, though, is very different from Marc's. So I don't know if you want to say yours first, or I can keep going.
Yeah, so I was in school at the time. I wasn't dating or anything. I was just kind of focused on school and friends and whatnot, and that's really my story between those 2.5 years. In the back of my head, I was like, I'm gonna marry this girl. So it was just.
I did not think that at all. I thought he was cute, but he lived in New Jersey, and I would never go to New Jersey. Why would I ever do that? So between these 2.5 years, I dated somebody for about 6 months, so I didn't write him because ladies, don't write another boy intimate things about your life while you're dating someone. And so for about 6 months, we didn't write, and then that boy broke up with me. Whatever, we don't care. And, right? It's better now. And from there, he broke up with me, and I was like, let me write my pen pal back. I haven't in 6 months. I hope he's alive. And we wrote, and I went on lots of dates with other people, thinking that my life was over after college. And we ended up meeting in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. My old roommate lived in Roanoke, Virginia area. And I was like, oh, I'm going on a trip in one of my letters. And he texted me and was like, I'm going there the week after you're going to be there. And I was like, what? Crazy. And so we ended up meeting for a day where our trips overlapped. And he has friends and family in North Carolina in the Charlotte region, which is where I'm from. And so we ended up meeting there again and went to Elevation Church, if you know what that is. And yeah, it's okay. And then from there, he came down 2 more times, and he met some of my best friends and my family. And then he invited me to New Jersey. And I was like, sure. And I'm a teacher, so I don't make a lot of money in North Carolina. And so I was living with a roommate, and she was like, you should go up. You should totally go visit him. And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? He had not asked me out, like, to be his girlfriend at that point. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's like the perfect weekend. Like, I had off, and he had time. And he was like, it's my sister's wedding. You can come. And I was like, what? Like, what? My roommate all the while is like, I got a plane ticket for you. Like, it's already booked. Like, you can go. So I came up, and I met all of his friends and family.
But before she came up,
yeah,
I ended up skipping a couple of classes of college, which I don't recommend. I drove down 2 weeks before and asked her to be my girlfriend. So that she wasn't just this girl I brought to the wedding, but she was my girlfriend at the wedding.
Yeah. He asked by saying, my family's going to ask questions. And I was like, what kind of questions? And he was like, who you are. And I'm like, I'm Olivia. I don't understand. And then, from there, all of this happened. And then we dated for around a year and a half, and then got engaged, and we got married last July. So, yeah.
So I have a question before we go into questions. So what was like the deciding factor where you guys were like, what made this relationship different from any other relationship that either of you guys had been in that you were like, nah, this is it. Like, this is the one. Like, this is a person I'm going to marry.
I mean, the generic answer is like, oh, we were pen pals. It's just like, it's a Hallmark story that we could sell and make millions off of. But no, it was, like, for me, it was just like finding a friend that you enjoyed spending time with. And it wasn't like it felt forced, but like you could literally do nothing. Like, your friends that you just do nothing with? It's just like that, That you're fine doing nothing and like you don't feel like you have to be rushed to do something. Like, that's how I kind of felt with her. And I was just like, I like her. She kind of, checks my boxes, which she can go on checking the boxes and stuff. She's the whole thing on that.
Yeah, okay. I guess I at first was very hesitant. I had just gotten out of a relationship that was very serious, although only for 6 months. It was like headed towards, lifelong stuff. And I came out of that and was very broken from that and hurting a lot. And so I really think that I knew that I was going to marry him when, for one, he told me he loved me 2 weeks in, and I was like, whoa. I kind of love you.
I've been writing for
I know.
3 years at this point.
But I was like, I kind of love him too, but that's weird. And then I think a lot of it was just, I had a list of things, like you make a list of the boy that you really want or the girl that you really want, and nobody ever checks those boxes. But I had like a couple, like 2 or 3 things that was necessary. Every other boy I ever dated or talked to never hit all 3 boxes, and Marc hit all 3 of them. And like, right, that's it, man. And he also hit all the other like not really required boxes. Like, he played guitar and he sang, and I was like, oh man. But I mean, like, all of my other boyfriends or people I talked to didn't love Jesus as much as I wanted them to, and didn't, the guy I dated for 6 months didn't invite me and hang out with any of his friends. That should have been a red flag. Never, ever. 6 months in and you don't know their friends.
The first time she came up, I invited her to everyone right away.
Right?
My whole family, all my friends, the extended family. It was a wedding. It was perfect. Yeah,
it was overwhelming, but it was great. But he ended up checking a lot of my absolutely required boxes. And then over time, I healed from a lot of things, and he helped me through that. And I think that's when I kind of realized he was going to be the person that I say, yes, I'll marry you. So yeah.
And what were for you guys like the box, like I guess in yours, like the ideal things, like the boxes that you were looking for to be checked? Like, were they more like practical? Were they more like emotional? Or was it a mix of those things? Or like, what were you two looking for in that?
So for for me, it was obviously like loving the Lord is so important. But not just like loving the Lord, but like loving the Lord more than I do. So that like her walk isn't reliant on mine, type thing. And so like she checked that box off. Obviously beautiful. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously. Sorry, I'm digging a rabbit hole here. No, but so like loving the Lord, someone that could, like make me laugh, someone that if we got into a fight, we got through it. Because no matter what, you're going to have a fight. But it's like, what does it look like after the fight? Is it still bad, or you laughing about it the next day? Yeah. And so like there was those things that, we kind of just started to check off, and like the biggest thing for me was just loving the Lord. And, I'm bad at this.
You're great at it. I definitely think that those were very similar to mine. I think with the whole, like, I wanted somebody who loved Jesus more than he would or could ever love me. But I also wanted, like, somebody who would serve with me. I served a lot in North Carolina at the church I went to, and I have a heart for certain things, and I didn't expect him to have the same heart for, like, youth or children, but I did want him to like want to be in the church and want to serve with me. Whether he likes to play music, I can't do any of that. But like I love to take pictures and do photography, and so even though we're serving in different areas of the church, we still get to serve on the same day and at the same time, which is really cool. Other than that, yeah, like I just wanted to know his friends and family and like be able to hang out with them and it not be weird, like. I just like wanted them to like me. I don't know if all of them do, but I can only hope so.
Yeah, and I think one of the coolest things they even said was that idea of, you said a little bit more back, of like that you guys were just chill with each other, like you were able to just be friends. And I feel like sometimes when you just try to build a foundation off of I like him and she likes me, or whatever that looks like, or whoever's saying that, it becomes this thing of like, when that dies, what do we have? And could you guys talk a little bit about the importance of like that kind of foundational friendship, and in moments maybe where the love wasn't that big? Because I think for a lot of people, especially younger people, they might think that love in marriage is just a 100% high, and it's love all the time, and we're all both running together through, flowers and holding hands, laughing and smiling. But can you give us any advice about like the times where it's like what does it look like to have that kind of foundation, and how important is that?
Yeah, so yesterday I made mac and cheese. And who here like Kraft mac and cheese? You add a little, yeah, it's the best.
By the way, they had me, Liz, Lucy, and Sabrina over the other day, and that food changed my life. Like I felt like I was at Olive Garden, and it was so simple, and I was like, wow. Like I feel like it wasn't even like I felt full from the food. It was like I felt like an overwhelming sense of joy. I don't know how you guys are like so good at like, but sorry, continue.
So when you make mac and cheese, once it's done, you add a little bit of milk to it. I like to heat my milk up so it doesn't, cool down my mac and cheese. And apparently this made her really mad. And we got into an argument over this. It wasn't like a screaming match. It was like, I'm just not going to talk to you. Like silently judging you the whole day.
No, okay. I was in a mood yesterday, and like, y'all, like, I don't know. Everything he did got on my nerves. Every single thing. And he made mac and cheese. I had just cleaned the kitchen. Oh, no. This has all started because I cleaned the kitchen. He decided to make toast. What? With our toaster? And then leave the toaster out? And I'm like, hello? And then he made mac and cheese, and he used, like, the tiniest amount of milk and put it in a cup, heated it up, and poured it in. And I was like, that's another cup we now have to wash. And he was like, yeah, but it makes it better. And I'm like, I don't know you anymore. But I think.
And then we sat on the couch and just watched New Girl. And, but the whole point of the story is that even though we were weird at each other, not mad, but weird, that's the only way I could describe it. It's just like, even though, like, because in your relationship, no matter what, the more time you spend with someone, you're going to find things that you don't necessarily like about that person, or things that grind your gears. And those are things you work on throughout your marriage and your relationship. Not marriage for you guys, but relationship. Like for me, it's like I don't close cabinets. So I'm learning to close cabinets. But it's like, in terms of just being chill, because the whole question was like, what does it look like to just be chill? Yeah. It's like, you know, we obviously have our moments where like we're like obviously upset, but like we can just still be together, and it's not like I need to leave you, I need to go somewhere else to get like away from you. It's like, yeah, I'm still bothered by you, but I'm still gonna sit with you on the couch and chill with you and just hang out, because like I still like you and I still love you, but you know, it's just like not diving into this deep spiral down in any sense of your emotions too. You know, like it's never like, because it's not like love is just this always 100% high thing. It's like you have to consistently work at like maintaining love in any sense of the word, really.
Yeah. I mean, like, writing for 2.5 years caused us to form a friendship before a relationship. So in general, like, that worked really well for us. Because it can be really hard when you get in a relationship and you're with that person constantly to get jaded from like what you, like your true morals in that relationship, what you really want to accomplish. And so we built a friendship through writing, but even like when we were dating, like there were little things that would pop up, and I think like our friendship caused us to feel comfortable enough to talk about our problems or things that were annoying us, and that has then led into our marriage. But like in our relationship, I could still be like, hey, like I'm not a good texter. I don't respond for days or weeks or maybe even months, and I don't feel guilty about it. And like, so that really bothers him though. And when we were dating, I obviously lived in North Carolina and he was in Jersey, and it really bothered him that while I'm teaching my children at school, I wasn't texting him back.
That was really stupid.
Because he was in school still and I was an educator. And so even though like that really bothered him, he could still like say, hey, Olivia, like I need you to just respond like an okay or a smiley face or something like at some point in the day before I have to call you. And so like while we were dating, we still felt comfortable enough as friends, and then as, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend, and then now as a married couple, like being able to call each other out on the things that bother us and not feel any like fear that they're going to react in any major way, or like not be scared to say like, what you're doing right now is really annoying. Like even if it's not something he's gonna fix, I can be like, you're just annoying me and I just need a minute to be away from you. And like, I feel like our friendship really helped us be able to do that with one another. Because sometimes like I've jumped into relationships or like people I've talked to, and you feel uncomfortable bringing up the things that make you uncomfortable. And I find that to be a problem in a lot of relationships. The guy I dated for 6 months, I couldn't say anything to him because I was like scared he was not gonna like me. I was scared he was gonna, you know, say something that hurt me, and like that's not healthy. And so I feel like when you form that friendship and that bond beforehand, it's really easy to like say like, this is bothering me, this is uncomfortable, this is weird, you should stop, you're annoying, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. Like even it's like that being a red flag, like if you don't have this comfortable platform of communication, like that's a scary thing, because it's like the reality is like two people coming together from, and even in your case, from two separate worlds, right? With two separate like experiences and going through so many different things. And it's like, you know, you can only think the way you think. So like when I talk to Marc, it's like I can't expect him to think about something the way I think it would, you know, happen. And the only way we kind of like fix that, and in your guys' case fix that, is like having communication and kind of being like, hey, I get annoyed when this happens. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know that. Like that, right? Because that doesn't keep them up at night. And I think it's really cool that you guys even bring that into the marriage and talk about the importance of that. Because like we said, it's not just always, you know, rainbows and butterflies running through the fields. But we're going to start getting into, what?
It's mac and cheese and warm.
Mac and cheese and warm. That was the needle that broke the camel's back.
It made me go off.
All right, guys. So we're going to start going into our question section of this. And I, again, hope you guys have been sending in some questions while this is going on. And I love Marc and Olivia. They're like one of my favorite couples. Like, you know, there's certain couples that you like one of them, but the other one you're like, and they think they're the best. And you're kind of like, I just like him, or I just like her. Like, you're just, I don't, But they're like one of those very few couples where I'm like, yes, together. You know, I'm like, yeah, yes, I'm for this. Not that you guys needed the stamp of approval, but I wouldn't have minded. So we have our first question up here, and our questions will all be up here. It says, how do you put yourself out there when you have been hurt in the past?
Thank you. Okay, Marc has dated people, but not like dated people, you know what I mean? Like high school. Like
Wait, I can attest. I can attest this, right?
Calm yourself, Ray. I know you. I will end you.
I can attest to this. Back in the day when we were all in like high school transitioning to college and all like a band and all that stuff, all the girls loved him and Josh Chomik, and like they'd all chase after him, but he wouldn't date anybody. And if he did, it was like on the low, and it was for like 2 seconds, and he'd be like, nah, it's not it. I'm like, boy, and then all of a sudden he comes out with a whole wife. I'm like, how did this happen? Like,
I had commitment issues, and then the next day I didn't. You know?
Yeah, you know what? It takes that one person to change everything, but let's...
So, anyway, I have had more long-term, I guess, dating experience than Marc has. And I can just say that my previous relationship left me very uncertain about going into any new relationship with people. And so I guess, like, how do you put yourself out there when you've been hurt in the past? Oh, gosh. It was very, very hard. For a while, yeah, I just cried. I was just like, I don't understand. And then I felt very unworthy, which I've had problems with that in the past as well. And very like, oh, this person didn't want me. And he didn't give me a reason. That was the real problem. He didn't give me a reason why we broke up. And I was like, so what did I do wrong? And what could I have done better? And how, like, why did this happen? And it was all because of me. It wasn't anything that he did. It was all because of me. And so really, like, before I ever put myself out there, like, I was going through all these issues. And then my mom is one of the most godly women. She says things that you don't want to hear, but it's, like, true. You know what I mean? And that's the worst. And I, luckily for myself, I have a lot of, godly people in my life that I really trust, and mentors and friends, and they were all like, you need to work on your relationship with Jesus before you ever put yourself back out into the world. And because I was sitting there like, I'm not worthy, I'm useless, like nobody wants me. I had just graduated from college. I moved back to my hometown. I knew all the boys there. I did not want to date any of them. I was like, they are all dumb. And I was like, what? Like, Lord, like, you have nobody for me. Like, I understand you want me to be single. Like, I get it. I don't want this. And so from going from all of those issues and then finally realizing, like, I need to be focusing on the one who gives me worth and who truly understands me and who knows me and knows I'm not useless and has a purpose for my life. Once I got right with him, that's when this one came into play. And I went on a few dates before I ever met Marc, with just random people, and they helped shape me into, like, being the girlfriend that I could be for him, and then, like, eventually the wife that I could be. But before I ever put myself back out there, it was getting my relationship right with Jesus. I didn't want to go to church, but I did. I didn't want to go to youth, but I did. I didn't want to volunteer, but I did, and it was because people pushed me to do those things. And so I feel like you need to get past your hurt before you go into a new relationship. I think I teach middle schoolers, just so y'all know. And so if any of you are in middle school, and if you've gone past middle school, you know, like, you break up and then the next week you got someone new. And like, I knew some girls who really got hurt in previous relationships, even in 6th and 7th grade. And then they went straight to another relationship. And it's like, you're hurting. Why do you think that's going to work in your next one? You know what I mean? Like, you're not focused on what you need to be focused on, and you're not right with yourself. How are you going to pour into someone new and have a good relationship with someone when you yourself are struggling? So for me, I worked on my relationship with Jesus, and then I eventually was, like, ready to go on a date. And yeah, no, it wasn't the right person. My first date, I cried before he picked me up. I was like, I don't want to go out with him. But, like, then I went out with him, and then I was like, okay, like, And like, now, Jesus, like, what kind of things do you want me to look for in the next person? And then the next person came, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go out with him. I cried again. I was like, I don't want to date him. And I went out with him, and I was like, okay, Jesus, he doesn't fit these things that we've worked on in this time together. And then the next person came, and I was like, okay, like, he's okay. And then, like, he still didn't check my boxes. And then Marc came, and it was like, I had worth in my relationship with God, and he helped build me up from my brokenness, and it ended up obviously working out. So yeah. So, I mean, working on that relationship with Jesus.
I like
really
how you
good.
ended that with the ring. Like, so yeah.
I didn't realize that.
And I think the cool thing about that is this reality that you were learning something from each relationship, no matter if it was like something simple or it was something hard or rough in that way. And I love the way you said about making sure like you were good and that you were okay and not just bringing all that baggage into the next thing just to ruin it or mess it up. And there was something else. It's in the back of my head that I was going to ask you. Oh, man. I must have forgot it. It's fine. But, yeah, I love that. And I love this idea of, like, that you casually, like, there's nothing wrong with getting to know somebody. There's nothing wrong with that's what it was. There's nothing wrong, going on a date and just getting to know someone. And, I say this to even ladies, you don't owe the guy anything for going out on that date. You don't owe them kiss. You don't owe a makeout session. You don't owe anything more than that. Like, and, it's so cool that it's like you talk a little bit about that because it's just, hey, I just want to get to know you. And then you go out and you're like, yeah, I don't know about that. And you learn from something like that, and you're like, and it prepared you for someone like Marc, where you're like, okay, now that makes sense. Because I think for a lot of us, we go through a relationship and we go through something that's messy, and we're like, oh, why did that happen? And we're like really hammering ourselves about that. But what if that very thing was designed to teach you to have a different perspective and mindset for when the right person would come into your life? And I said this before in other sermons. It was like, what if like God was preparing you, and had you not gone through that, you wouldn't even know what the right guy is or what the right girl is, right? And so I think it's cool that, you guys even kind of speak about these things where it's like, yeah, like these things made me more prepared so that when the right person did come, I went, oh, that's what real love looks like. That's what a real man looks like. I have to hype him up a little bit. I love Marc. But I think but that's really cool. All right, let's go to our second question. Advice on making God the center of a relationship.
So this is a fun one. First off, the other person has to love Jesus. 1 times 0 equals 0. So, but seriously, the other person has to love Jesus. And I'm not talking like, oh, I go to church, I sing the songs, and then I go home and do whatever I want. It's like, no, like, they have to actively love Jesus and actively, yes, Christina, yes.
Just stand up and start preaching. We're going to have an altar call, like, right here.
No, but, like, seriously, like, just, if you guys are both actively pursuing God, then it's like, if they need space to go pursue God in that moment or in that season, then you're willing to give them that space of not being able to talk to them all the time or see them all the time because, in this time they're leading worship or they're learning more about the Bible, like doing something. Like if they want to join a Bible class and now you don't get to hang out with them on like a Thursday night or something, like, oh no, but like they're actively pursuing God and you should be supporting them in that. And for example, say you guys are both just actively pursuing God, you still have a lot of time, like praying together, worshiping together, serving together, making those things priority. And it's like, you have to love God more than you can even love your other partner, because if you don't love God, then how do you even know how to love that person? Because it's like true love comes from the Father. And it's like anything else is not true love. What you see in a Hallmark movie, which we're going to get rich off of, that's not true love. Story. That's great. But no, seriously, so that's my thing. Is I don't want to talk for too much on this. It's just like, make sure that they love Jesus. And if you're not sure, get to know him. Like, that's what dating's for. Just because I wasn't in a serious relationship for a long time. Like, I did go on dates and stuff, and I had, I had girls that I talked to, but never, like, went on to the next level because they didn't check those boxes or they didn't actively love God the way, I needed them to. And so it's just that.
Yes.
It's like, I stand in agreement.
True. I think for me, I was super excited to be in relationships, and I pushed I pushed really hard to like get us in prayer like a week in, like I'm praying with my boyfriend, like a week in, I know him, we're going to pray together. And I was like, we're going to do Bible studies like 2 days into dating. And I think for me, something that has really benefited us is that when we started dating, like, yeah, we were friends, we knew each other's walks, and we talked about God, and I think that's important. But we also didn't rush into, like, we didn't force ourselves to do a Bible study a month into dating. And we didn't force ourselves to be praying together because your relationship with Jesus is very intimate, you and him. And it can be very hard to start talking about how you are with the Lord with another person when you're not overly comfortable with them yet. And so for us, I know, like, we waited, I don't even know. We didn't pray together until, like, a few months into our relationship. And we started doing Bible studies maybe 6 months in. And for me, I was like, that's a long time to not be in the Word together every single day. But it also ended up helping us because we got to talk about, well, what did Jesus do in your day today? And what did you learn at church? And then eventually it became like we're now comfortable with each other's walks and we're comfortable with one another for us to then pray together and like dive into the Word and talk about our past and how Jesus has worked through us and our frustrations with the Lord and our struggles with faith. And I feel like it's really easy for you to be like, okay, we're going to have a godly relationship. Let's pray tomorrow. We started today. Let's pray tomorrow. And that can be really uncomfortable for some people when you first start dating. Especially, I cannot imagine doing that in high school, like being like, okay, we're going to pray together tomorrow. And some of you and whoever you date may be super comfortable, and that's awesome. You go for it. You put Jesus in the center the day one. But for me, I know it took us some time to get him to be the real center. And I think that that's okay because you have to be comfortable with one another for you to then be comfortable letting somebody else into your relationship with Jesus. So.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing too about that is like the reality is like it wasn't missionary dating, right? And do you guys know what that is? By any chance, you guys want to explain what that is?
1 times 0. 0. It's like if you're dating someone who doesn't know Jesus, that's missionary dating, and with the intent of trying to convert them.
I used to do this a lot in high school. I'd just be like, I really think that girl's so pretty. She doesn't love God, but it's fine. She's going to love me and then love God. The problem is when you step out of the relationship, they step out of their relationship with God, right? And so there's a beautiful thing about like two people who are like, hey, we're perfectly whole by ourselves first, right? Like Marc is here saying like, I'm placing God first. And Olivia's here is like, I'm placing God first. And then they come together and like, we're both going to place God first together. And it becomes a harder thing when you're trying to drag someone to Jesus instead of they themselves going to Jesus themselves. And that's when things kind of get like a little bit unhealthy in that way. So I'm glad you guys kind of touched on that. It's not shade. I'm not saying specifically, like if they're not 100% a pastor, this, so you can't get with them. No, but again, if they don't love Christ and they don't know what real love is, and real love is found in Christ, how can they show you that real love as well? It gets rough. So let's get to the third question. Let's try to at least get 5 questions. So speed round. How do you build trust in a relationship?
Communication, next.
Communication for real though. It's making sure that you're open with each other. You're open with your struggles. One thing for me is I box myself up when I get stressed or anxious. Like I close up and I build these walls and I don't talk. And her way of breaking those walls down is like getting mad at me, and it's like whoa. And I mean it gets me out of it because it makes me realize that like I need to trust this person that I'm choosing to spend the rest of my life with. And if I put these walls up around me, it's not just around me, it's also blocking her out. And that can't happen. So like, building, like having the trust in someone to say like, even though like I'm stressed, I'm gonna talk to you about it and I'm gonna work through it. And that was it for me. Like someone who like walls up. And I know for you, you can talk about what you do.
I'm an overly emotional human being who says everything that I feel out loud. And I just really, we talked about this one the other day. You should feel comfortable to communicate with the person you're dating. And you should never feel any, like we were talking earlier, you should never feel any fear to communicate with one another. And by being able to be open and honest with each other, it builds a trust. By being able to say, like, you're annoying me, like, I can trust that you're going to hear that kind of thing, you know? And you can see that they fix the things that you're talking to them about, or they work on the things, and then that builds your trust in your relationship. And I know for us, like, when I was in North Carolina, there was a fear of, like, is somebody cheating? Like we're in separate states, we could be talking to other people and stuff. And so we had to talk. When I wasn't texting him, he was like, she's with another man. And he was able to say, like, he was able to communicate and be like, hi, like, this is my fear, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm struggling with. And then I was able to say, like, oh, like, I didn't realize that. And then I got to make the effort to talk to him more throughout the day. And then that built his trust that I was solely faithful to him and he was solely faithful to me. So really communication, like, you should be talking to each other.
Yeah, and even a big one that comes to mind is also allowing for that. Not that, again, every relationship grows you, every relationship teaches you something, but kind of having that grace for the new person that they're not who you dated before, right? I know for me, a lot of times, especially, you know, if I can talk on this a little bit, even in my relationship with Liz, there'd be some times where I'm like, oh, this person hurt me that way, so she's doing this because this, and this, and she's out here like, I was just playing a game on my phone. Like, what the heck? You know, and I'm out here being all insecure and all this stuff. And I think it's a beautiful thing, again, when it comes to communication of, like, just being real with people, right? Just being like, hey, yeah, you know, I just thought that this, and this because I experienced this, and this. But, you know, not putting everybody in that category that, God forbid, anyone do that one thing that one person did that hurts you and you automatically think they're that person. No, like, people are different and we're all imperfect, so we're going to mess up sometimes. But I think that's really helpful also in, like, building a relationship and building trust in a relationship. Let's go to the next question. Wow, I like how we skipped to 5 and just 4 is non-existent. Okay. What is the best advice for singles to meet someone?
We talked about this the other day because we saw some of the questions, and this was a fun one because, like the whole, like, backstory behind it, or not backstory, but, like, importance behind if you're single and you're trying to mingle, you got to be ready, like, spiritually, to, like, you're not looking for someone to, like, be your other half. You're looking for someone to just add to what you already have with God. And so it's like when you have that that mindset of, like, I'm content in my walk with Christ right now, like, I'm good. And, like, this, like, having this person is only going to make things better. And so it's like when you have that mindset, then it's just, like, just put yourself out there. Like, don't be afraid. Like, have conversations with people. Don't be afraid to ask someone out on a date. And, like, it doesn't have to be a date. Just be group hangs, going out for coffee, like, you know, I know sometimes it's awkward to hang out one-on-one with people, but, you know, that's what group, like, friends are for, you know. I don't know. I kind of just was, like, that kid who was just like, hey, like, I slid into her DMs. Like, I don't know. I was just like, hey, you want to grab coffee or something? Like, you just got to kind of have those moments. And that was it for me. I mean,
I think the DMs is the most popular way everyone's been getting into relationships like the whole year.
The friend runners, this was back in 2015, man.
I have real question. A lot of couples always have a different response or answer to this one. Should it be the guy who asked the girl out on a date or the girl to ask the guy out on a date?
It's 2020, man. I mean, I don't want to raise any flags here, but, like, guys, man up. Girls, woman up. I don't know. If you want to ask a guy out, go for it. Guys, if you want to ask a girl out, go for it. Like, you guys are, it's just, like, if both people can have a say in it.
It's like a dad moment. You're 18. You shouldn't be like.
You can do it.
Cool. All right, let's get one last question before we close things out. Maybe we can hit 4. No. What's the best way to know you are ready to be in a relationship? Did we kind of answer that? All right, let's do it. Let's do one more. Is there a 7? In Jesus' name, please. 11, I like that. Oh. What is the reason for wanting to date? That's a good one to end things off on.
He said, I don't know.
I just talk. You know?
So for me, when I was in middle school and high school, I had zero desire to date anybody. I was like, I'm too busy. I play sports. I'm in school. Don't talk to me. And then I went to college, and I was like, it's time to date. So my sister went to college. She never dated anybody. She went to college. A month in, she started dating this man, and now they're married and have 2 children. So my mindset was I go to college and I find my husband and I marry him when I graduate. And so that was my real reason for dating, because I was like, husband, right? Like, yes. But honestly, the reason I guess as I got older, the reason I wanted to date was really to have a companion that was there all the time with me. And I wanted somebody who obviously would grow with me in Christ and things like that. But like Marc and I have been talking about this a lot in our like last few weeks about how it's just nice to have somebody there all the time. Like when I moved to New Jersey, I had very few friends, and I now have friends. There we go. And so I just I knew that when I came home from work, like Marc was always going to be there, and he's my best friend, and he's the person I decided to be with forever, and I enjoy being with him. And I know like that's some of the real reasons I wanted to date, was like just having somebody that you trusted, that you wanted to get to know, and that was always there with you, wouldn't mind doing things that you wanted to try. Like we went indoor skydiving one day, and like that was cool, but like none of my friends would have wanted to do that. And so, like just having someone there all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, like when I was in high school, I just wanted to date because I wanted to feel like I was older and cool. Like, oh, I could drive you out to get some coffee. Not anything fancy, but coffee. Like, I just wanted to, I don't know, it was like something fun to do, to get to know people that were different outside of my friend group and stuff. And just like meeting other people. Like, just because you're going on a date doesn't mean you need to, like be looking for anything more than it. It can literally just be like, hey, I just want to get to know you. And like, if I end up liking you, then hey, maybe we can actually do something more. Like we can start talking more or whatever. But like, you can literally just want to go out and hang out. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, you know? And then like, especially when you're in high school, like your intentions are going to be different. Like my brother-in-law and my sister, they started dating when they were in 7th grade, and then they got married at like 24. So it was like 10 years of dating or 11 years of dating, which is awesome. God bless them. You know, they were abstinent. They did everything the right way. But, you know, that's obviously hard is when you date for a long time. Like, there are obviously challenges. And so in high school, it's like, what are your intentions in dating? Are you just dating to mess around with someone? Because that's not the right thing to be doing. Like, once you kind of get to college and, like, you're ready to graduate and stuff, it's kind of different. Like, I know some of the, like, young leaders are in college already and, like, you know, they're whatever. Like, you start dating at this point and your intentions are, I want to have someone when I graduate to, you know, marry and stuff. And in high school, you could have those intentions, but know that it's a long time before you might have a ring on your finger. And for some people, that's hard. And so it's just like, know your intentions going into it. If you want to marry this person when you're in high school, think, okay, like, that's a long time away. Like, do I really want to pour all this into this? Or should I, like, wait a little bit? Like, you know, just be smart about it.
Yeah, and that's a really amazing way to end it, because I was even having a conversation with Pastor Nick probably like earlier in the week, probably somewhere in Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. And that was the biggest question. And what I'm going to leave you guys with is like, when you date, what is your end goal in mind? Because I think that might help a lot of you guys when you ask these questions of, why should I do this? Or why shouldn't I do that? Or why is this that? Or why is that? The biggest question is, what is your end goal in mind when you're stepping into dating? Like, is it just to have someone there? Is it to have someone to have forever, to get married? Is like what? And I guess, again, that's one of the questions I want to leave you guys with going into next week is, when you date, or if you want to date, what is your end goal in mind? Because it might be able to help you look at your relationship or look at relationships with a different viewpoint and perspective of, am I with this person because I want to have this lifelong thing that I grow with them, or am I with them just because I kind of want to have someone and they're just there, right? So we're going to end things off. And again, if your question didn't get answered, keep sending in your questions. We have them being saved up by Nicole in the back. And like I said, going in from this week to the end, very end of what are we in August? Yes, the very end of August, we're going to have new couples each week. And it's going to be a fun and exciting time. And I hope we get to see you guys for the last week if possible. But can we give a round of applause to Marc and Olivia? So if you guys don't mind, if you guys wouldn't mind praying us out, either or, whichever want to pray, just so we can end the night. And again, we have leaders around if you want to have any conversations, or if they have a little time to stick around. Don't know. I know you guys said you had to head back. They might be around for a little bit to sign your books. No, I'm kidding. But to chat up a little bit.
Now before the Hallmark movie.
Yeah, before the Hallmark movie. So if you guys wouldn't mind praying us out, and we'll end the night there.
All right, I'll pray. All right.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
Lord.
Hey, God. First off, thank you so much for just how cool you are to us, Father, and just everything you do for us, God, how you provide, how you just gave us a space where we can come and worship you, Father, and learn about you and hang out with friends. God, I pray that we would just really take in these conversations that we had tonight. And over the rest of the series, Father, I pray that the conversations, they wouldn't just be filler or because we needed to waste time, but I pray that each question that is answered would truly benefit these students, Father, that their hearts and their ears would just be open to what you have to say through everyone that you end up having up here. And, we just pray that through this, God, that these students' relationships would be built stronger, Father, that there would be purpose and intention in everything they do, God, and that you would shift their eyes to you, Father, that they would learn to love you first, Father, and to ultimately reflect that to everyone in their life, regardless of whether it's someone they're dating or not, Father. I pray that they would just learn to reflect that love, God, and we just thank you so much for everything you do for us, Father. I pray that we would just have an awesome weekend, and that you would just be everything we think about, God. In your name we pray. Amen.
And amen. Let's all give one more round of applause. All right, so again, just letting you guys know,